I agree with Richard Dawkins, who argues that humans are above all selfish and self-interested creatures. However, by working together, humans can satisfy their selfish impulse more effectively than alone. Seeing as I am a tall and obtrusive redhead, in addition to being human, it makes sense that my art-making process is about myself and my place in this world. Working with my hands and engaging with my media is like meditation, and through it I think about, reflect on, and process the various parts of my existence. It is not necessarily a bad thing that my art practice is about myself, because if I enrich myself, I am also able to make a richer contribution to society. My art making is a self-improvement endeavor because I know that through art I will grow, become happier, and try harder. Art reminds one that humans are more than just survival machines who must optimize output while minimizing waste. Like a sangoma casts bones to make decisions or discern something about an unrelated situation, casting clay onto the workbench and manipulating its form allows me to make sense of the world. Making art is a simple cognitive tool like dream interpretation, which gives me insight into my subconscious. Since my art making is about me working to be happy, it is important that in my studio I am in control of how things look aesthetically and also of how space is arranged practically. My studio exists outside of what is considered normal in society, and I feel free to do as I please. I can thus work innovatively, freed from tradition. My ideas about how and where I work come partly from Willem Boshoff, who, in this performance, puts his life and work on display. Visitors are allowed to enter his space, which is equipped with everything that he needs for living his life and making his art, and observe him as he works and talks. Stefan Erasmus, who was mentored by Boshoff, follows a similar approach in some of his work by installing parts of his studio and workspace along with his artwork. Erasmus believes that one must labor and suffer to prove oneself worthy as a person. I use my body's form and dimension and routes that I have traveled for subject matter. With these trivial parts of my life, I give my form to the formless clay. These petrified bits of myself become testaments of my enjoyment of life and bits of my living. George Hersey shows how the decorative elements of classical columns are derived from sacrificial trees, in which dissected animals would be hung to form a reconstructed version of them. The link between architecture and parts of the human body becomes more evident when one also considers that early buildings were measured by feet, handbreadths, and arm spans. Clay, my medium of choice, has connotations of being human flesh, but is also used for making bricks, thus reinforcing the link between the body and architecture. Mark Dunhill and Tamika O'Brien also approach their art making as ritual and self-consciously re-examine their past work. This installation is made up of 100 plasticine sculptures based on artworks and components from past exhibitions. This work, a collection of redundant and failed objects, acts as a kind of thesaurus of sculptural dysfunction and also points to the relevance of re-examining one's old work and how it is situated within the studio. These works were made during a 3-month residency in Rome, where Dunhill and O'Brien found ways to use less physical effort in the heavy heat of midday. Rocks were repeatedly dropped onto mounds of soft clay to form hollows, performances that suggest a primitive ritual. By accepting that I am self-centered and using my art-making processes within my studio as a form of self-reflection, I aim to understand myself and life so that I am able to contribute more fully to society.